Well, hello there, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. And we like to make you aware of things, keep you up to date on things that are happening in the world and also maybe in the church. I'll share something that I just read about early this morning, quite disturbing, but it's becoming a bit of a trend, not a good reality. But welcome to your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani with Jerry Usher, and you, as we always say, each and every show. So, Jerry, I'm looking forward to today because I think that, raising awareness is a great thing.
Well, yeah, and we always say that you are the teachers of the program, the Take Two family, and you teach and inspire and share your wisdom through your lived experiences. And so today I know that I'm going to learn a lot because we're covering a topic that I don't know that much about. Debbie, I don't know how much you know about it, but if any family listening right now has dealt with this, you certainly know exactly what it is, and that is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. We're going to be talking about that because, Debbie, today is FASD Day, as they call it, FASD Day.
It is. It's the International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day. And it's very important that we do raise awareness of the harmful effects of drinking alcohol during pregnancy. And since there's no cure for this sad reality, prevention is our only hope to spare these children of a lifetime of difficulties. And so we want to talk about this because it's very important. Folks, when they become pregnant, when they take that pregnancy test and they say, we're having a baby, they really must stop the alcohol consumption because it affects the child growing in their womb. So alcohol and pregnancy don't mix. That's what we're talking about today. Please weigh in if you've had experience with this because this is the International Awareness Day for FASD, and we want to hear from you. Phone lines are already lighting up. We have folks that have a lot to say about this. 833-288-3986. And Jerry, if I may just say this, we might as well just get this off the table because I was so disturbed by this. I don't know if you heard about this. I guess yesterday morning, very early in the morning, 2 people went into St. Catherine's Cathedral in Ontario, Canada, and stole the tabernacle with the consecrated hosts inside. Yes. And they're asking for people. They had video footage, but it was kind of grainy. It was at 4:30 in the morning, so it was pretty dark. And they are just asking that please return the tabernacle. No questions asked. So a lot of folks, I understand, are gathering in that area in Ontario, praying in front of the cathedral in hopes that the tabernacle will be returned. Very disturbing.
I had not heard about that. And gosh, that's just another in a long line of desecrations and things that are going on against Catholic churches and against our Lord himself and our Blessed Mother. So let us all be in prayer for that to stop, but also just pray for the hearts, the souls, the conversion, the change of mind and heart among those people who do those things without any judgment on the state of their souls. We just simply pray that they would have their minds and hearts changed and realize what it is that they're doing when they perform acts like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we want to talk about alcohol and pregnancy and how it does not mix at all, not even a drop of alcohol. Okay, that's the first thing that my OBGYN told me when I was pregnant with my first child. Said, you don't drink any alcohol, do you? I said, no, good. Don't drink any, not even a drop. I got so nervous, Jerry. I even asked people that cook with alcohol, but they said, it burns off when, it burns off when you cook. I was so nervous because I didn't want anything to get transported to the baby. But it happens. And when it does, the baby is the one that suffers for a lifetime. And we want to talk about that today. Very important topic today. Think about this for a moment. You may have a friend, in your community that has a child with FASD and you're not sure what's going on. This is the time to learn about it. Wouldn't you say, Jerry?
Absolutely. And this is also a time to point out that obviously parents are called to love their children unconditionally. And Debbie, what you did and so many other mothers have done by not consuming alcohol during pregnancy, that's the first moment of a mother showing love for her unborn baby right there, loving them in a very real way. And so, excuse me, if anyone is listening right now, we have a lot of moms listening at this point, and we always do on this Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Tell us your experience. Maybe you had the same situation as Debbie, where your doctor said when you got pregnant, said, you need to eliminate the alcohol during your pregnancy, and tell us how you did that. And and especially we feel bad if you or someone you know has been impacted by a child with the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. But what is life like? How has that changed your life? How has that actually, in many ways, been a blessing to you? We're going to talk with someone here on the program today, Debbie, who has a daughter with FASD, and I know it's challenging, but there are a lot of blessings in their lives as well.
Well, it was interesting. I was talking to a friend recently, and they were telling me that, autism has gotten a great amount of attention, which it should, right? Autism, and people understand it, and they can be compassionate, but with FASD, it's much harder. So people are making these, cartoon bubble judgments of, what is going on with this child or this young adult, and it's really somewhat of an ignorance on all our parts, in the sense that, Jerry, that we just don't know how to really ask the right questions, what it looks like, when we witness something, how should we respond? And I hope we learn something today that can make us, that changes us and makes us understand it better at a deeper level. So the number to dial, there's a couple open phone lines if you have something to say about this, or maybe you have no idea what we're talking about and you just want to ask some questions. We want to talk about that as well. 833-288-3986.
Well, as I said before, we are going to learn a lot here on the program as well. The number is 833-288-3986. Today, if you've just joined us, tuned in, we started the show a few minutes ago. Debbie mentioned today is Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day internationally. And there are actually a number of disorders that fall into this umbrella of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and maybe we can get into some of those here on the program today. But if your life has been touched by this, perhaps you have adopted a son or a daughter who maybe nobody else wanted. It's a beautiful act, because Debbie, sometimes you can't blame parents when they're looking to adopt a baby. They want a happy, healthy, wholesome one that is hopefully not going to have a lot of difficulties. But some people go that extra mile and really show their heroism by adopting children who need the special care like this. So that's our conversation. What do you have to say? 833-288-3986.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Coverage as seen through a Catholic lens.
All people of faith and sincerity need to awaken to this and protect this fundamental right of religious liberty.
Expert analysis.
Does Revelation judge history, or does history judge Revelation?
Stories vital to people of faith.
It's part of our faith that comedy and tragedy naturally go hand in hand.
Delivered to your inbox every week. Sign up today. Go to EWTN.com/worldover.
EWTN Open Line.
I've got a few things here and there that I've learned along the way, and I like to do it. Plus, I love studying history, so I try to bring in some of the historical perspective, especially at a time in our history when people don't know much history anymore. So this is a good thing.
Open Line Wednesday with Father Mitch Pacwa. This afternoon, 3 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Now there's a fast and easy way to get in touch with EWTN. The EWTN Everything number. Call 1-800-447-EWTN to get the latest information on programming, special events, pilgrimages, and more. Our EWTN Family Viewer Services representatives are ready to help you with whatever your needs may be. The EWTN Everything number. 1-800-447-EWTN. EWTN.
You may not be aware of this, but we are making you aware today. Today is International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day. And like Jerry said earlier, it is international. So it's a time for all of us to become schooled on what this means for the children that are born with this disorder. You know, when mothers drink alcohol during pregnancy, and you know, off air we were just talking, Jerry, and it's kind of interesting. I want to just add something. We were talking about how how I didn't drink any alcohol when I was pregnant, but also I nursed for a year. And I was also told, unless you pump ahead of time, don't be drinking alcohol as well when you're nursing. And so actually, I really didn't drink at all because I was a runner. So I never drank until later in life socially. But my point is that it's very interesting how this does play a really key part in the child's development. So if you have something to say about this, or, we don't want you to out yourself. Maybe you went through this and you're thinking, I feel so guilty about this. I have so many regrets. Let's talk about it. 833-288-3986 is the number to call.
Okay, we do have several folks on the line, but a couple of lines are open there, and Debbie just gave you that number, so feel free to occupy one of those lines. Ryan is ready and waiting to answer your call, 833-288-3986. Jeff Burson on social media today. We are streaming the video on Facebook and YouTube. And also our producer, Michael Birchfield, is on the controls. So the team is in place. Debbie and I are here now. Where are you? 833-288-3986. We'll start with Sister Suzette in Toledo, Ohio, listening on Annunciation Radio. Sister, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Jerry and Debbie. This is a wonderful opportunity to make people aware of this disability. And it's actually a brain-based physical disability, so with lifelong implications.
So, Sister, you work in this ministry. Is this what you focus on?
Yes, I've worked in this ministry for over 25 years. And really basically focused on fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. We work with families who are raising children with FASD. We have trainings for them. We have support groups. And the sad thing is that, the prevalence is like 1 in 20 school-age children may be affected by prenatal alcohol exposure.
Wow.
And it's very high, and that's probably a low estimate. So fetal alcohol spectrum disorders is an umbrella term describing the range of effects that can occur in an individual whose mother drank alcohol during pregnancy. And that includes physical, mental, behavioral, and or learning disabilities with possible lifelong implications. So FASD is actually an umbrella term, so that's not the diagnostic term, it's just a description. Under that is fetal alcohol syndrome, and that's a combination of physical, cognitive, and behavioral issues. And then there's partial fetal alcohol syndrome, there's neurobehavioral disorder with prenatal alcohol exposure, there's static encephalopathy with alcohol exposed. And the static encephalopathy means that the damage to the brain happens during the pregnancy due to the alcohol use of the mom. And I want to really emphasize that this is not about blame and shame. This is about how do we help these children. Many, many women don't even realize they're pregnant for some time. And so that when they realize it and they stop drinking, there could be some damage. It's a range of effects. That's why we call it fetal alcohol spectrum. It's a range of effects. So the impact on the brain is really critical. And we're looking at like functional deficits. So when we look at cognition, we're looking at developmental delays, memory problems, their memory, particularly their short-term memory, language delays, especially verbal, and not. They talk better than they understand. So they kind of look like they're doing really well, like they're really smart, but they're not really understanding a lot of what's going on. They have processing deficits, particularly auditory processing. So they hear what you say, but it takes them a longer time to process. These are like 10-second kids in a 1-second world. They also they have inconsistent performance, so on and off days. They don't understand boundaries, so they're very likely to take things that don't belong to them or get in people's space. Their social development is usually very poor. One researcher said that their social development is arrested at age 6. And I experienced that with, we have an adults with FASD now because we've been doing this a long time. And, if you talk to them long enough, you realize that socially they're very inept. They lack cause and effect. They don't understand, cause and effect, and they don't understand consequences. So that's a huge problem. And they're concrete thinkers. They're literal thinkers. So if you think about so many phrases that we use, like it's raining cats and dogs, they may run to the window to look for the cats and dogs. Or we had one child who was playing a game. These were a teenage group playing games. They were all on the fetal alcohol spectrum. And there was a facilitator who said to this one boy, "Oh, you got that by the skin of your teeth." So he goes up and starts touching his teeth to find the skin on it. So, they take things so literally. And they're able to repeat the instructions and unable to put it into action. That happens over and over again. They can tell you what the rule is and turn right around and break the rule. Poor organizational skills. They have difficulty understanding abstract concepts. Problem solving is very difficult. Decision making they need support with. They have difficulty generalizing from one situation to another. So in the classroom, they might be told that they're not supposed to hit Johnny. Well, they go out in the hall and they hit Johnny, when in fact it's two different places. They can't generalize that that's the same concept.
We are talking with Sister Suzette. She is with us from Toledo, Ohio today, listening on Annunciation Radio. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Today is International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day, and Sister works with young people and even adults with fetal alcohol syndrome and other disorders. And you were mentioning, I think, Sister, something like 1 in 20 young people in school today has some degree or some effect of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. What do you think the overall, I don't know, is it possible to take a guess at the overall population of people, say, in the United States who might be affected by this?
It's there. I would say it's huge. I don't have a number for you. I know the 1 in 20 is the low estimate, but we don't have enough statistics to say exactly how many. I know, like in the justice system, and they've said 60 to 70% of people incarcerated may be on the fetal alcohol spectrum. We did a short study in our youth treatment center here in Toledo, in Lucas County, and we found that about 60% of the kids that we looked at their records, we would have been able to we would have probably put them through our diagnostic process if we had the personnel to do that.
Right. Sister Suzette, we at the beginning of the show, we just talked about, it's our sheer ignorance of this, that we don't, know what depths, this takes for a lifetime and what it means for people and, and being incarcerated and their choices that they make and their development. Sister, if somebody suspects that there's somebody that they know or they're in their family and they would like to get support and help, does your ministry work, does that provide that for the general public?
Well, we have 2 parent support groups a month.
Great.
The second Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m. and the fourth Monday of the month from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And that's through Double Arc Center for FASD at a Renewed Mind. It's actually, both of those are online. And people can go on our website to register for those parent support groups, and then they would get an email before each support group to remind them, and it has the information on how to log on. So that's been an awesome for parents. We've had parents from all over the country join that parent group.
Okay, so real quickly, sister, say the website again. We're actually getting text messages asking for the website.
Okay, the website is doublearc.org, DOUBLEARC.org.
Okay, beautiful. You know, we're very big on having support systems in place and resources for people to go to. This is very, very much needed, as you shared some of the stats on 1 in 20, and people that could be dealing with this in their adult lives and not even realize what is happening. Sister, thank you so much for the ministry work you have devoted your life to. I think it's just wonderful to help others. And real quickly, I know you're probably super busy, and we've got other people to get to that are actually parents of children with FAS. But I just wanted to ask you real quickly, I'm very, I don't know how often you listen to the show, but I'm kind of, I don't really like labels. Okay. But when somebody is out there in public and somebody says, my child is autistic, all of a sudden we go, oh, okay. All right. We understand. But how does one communicate that to people in public? Because people may be making judgments, not even knowing that this child is struggling so badly.
Right. And that does happen so much. I know a parent who, when she told somebody else that her child was on the FASD spectrum, they looked at her like, judgmental. And she was a person that did not just say that I adopted this child, but helped them. But that's a lot of the kids, about 80% of the kids that we see are adopted. And I think we have to learn about this and not be judgmental, because, as I said before, sometimes a woman doesn't even know she's pregnant. And it may be, 2 months down the line or 3 months down the line, and her child has a lot of these disabilities associated with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. So I think we just need to be careful about judging people. And, I hear that all the time. Parents feel like they're being judged, or can't you get control of that child? And we hear that over and over again. I feel, and I tell parents this, the parents who are raising children on the fetal alcohol spectrum are the saints of today. They really are. These children are very challenging, but they have so many wonderful strengths. They can be so charming and loving. But if developmentally, you have a 16-year-old, maybe developmentally more like an 8-year-old. And we call that dysmaturity. So it's not that they're immature. They're not going to necessarily catch up. So if you cut their age in half, typically that's about the age they are. So you might have a 5-year-old in a 10-year-old body. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I believe so. Did it, Debbie? I'm sure it did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, sister. I'm taking notes so as quick as I possibly can. Thank you so much. Jerry?
I just want to say again,
welcome.
thank you, sister, as Debbie said. And you're doing very, very important work, and God's special loved ones are in your care and in other people's very capable care. And we thank you for taking the time to be with us here on the program today. As Debbie said, we know you're very, very busy, but go with our prayers and our good wishes, and we ask that you keep us in your prayers as well. And we are so grateful that you joined us today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thank you, sister.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. God bless you.
God bless you. Yeah.
I just didn't realize. I didn't realize the range of this. And I wonder, I could tell by some of the messages we're getting that so many people are going, we didn't realize. And so this is why we do shows like this, just to make people aware so that they can now conduct themselves accordingly when they are in situations where they're interacting with children or young adults or adults who have been through this. Yeah. Or living with it. I should say living with it because there's no cure, Jerry. Yeah.
Right. Well, it was such a blessing for us to have Sister Suzette call in, and we want to thank her, not only her for calling in, but Patricia and Loretta and Jerry for your extra patience here on the program today. We will get all of you on the program. This is just one of those things you can't just cover in a minute or two, especially, Debbie, with someone coming from Sister's perspective and the work that she does on this. So, again, today is International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day. We're talking about some of the effects of that, of a child being exposed to alcohol in the womb. And we invite you to call in if you have any experience with this at all. Maybe you know someone who does, but we have a lot of others we're going to get to. So stick around right here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Have you heard about Church Pop? Church Pop features new online Christian content that's fun and inspiring every day. Find it on Snapchat, Instagram, and on the web at churchpop.com. 60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
In prayer, do not do all the talking. If you went into a doctor's office, you would not rattle off the symptoms and then rush out. How did you learn to speak the English language? You learned to speak by listening, did you not? How does a scientist learn the laws of nature? By imposing laws upon nature? No, he sits down passively before nature and says to nature, now you reveal to me your secrets. So we are not constantly to be yapping in prayer. Sacred Scripture says, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. We often change that. And we say, listen, Lord, thy servant speaketh. In prayer, therefore, we must not only speak, we must also listen.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Hey, Take Two family, it's here, and we can't wait for you to see what we've created to help you reach your highest potential in life. It's StandTallToday.com, our brand new website loaded with just the things you're looking for. Those include our team of life coaches, resources picked out just for you, our webinars, book club, and more. Whether you're struggling to find your purpose or feel like you have it pretty much figured out, let us help you today at StandTallToday.com. That's StandTallToday.com.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. There are a lot of misconceptions about the Catholic faith. We clear them up on Call to Communion, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
And back to your phone calls on National Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day International. And we thank you all for your great patience. Please do hang on with us because this is something that you are going to really inspire. You're going to teach a lot of people with your lived experiences. And we're going to go to Patricia next in Tiffin, Ohio, listening on St. John Paul the Great Radio. Hi, Patricia. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. Thank you so much for raising awareness on this important topic. I really appreciate you and the Take Two family. And I know what prayers the Take Two family is, and I just ask for their prayers for all those that are involved, those who are raising kids, those who have FASDs, and for the moms, too. You know, in my situation, when we adopted Elizabeth, we were not aware that there had been alcohol exposure. We were aware that there had been drug exposure. She was almost a year old before we found out about the alcohol exposure, and we were so grateful that birth mom felt comfortable enough to let us know that indeed she had drank pretty much every day during the pregnancy. She had the disease of alcoholism. And some people, you know, have said to me, you know, like, oh, you know, how terrible she did it. I said, no, she had a disease too. And had she been healthier herself, she certainly wouldn't have done it. But she was in the midst of her disease, of alcoholism and addiction, and I'm just so grateful that she let us know, because it really assisted us in getting an accurate diagnosis. When we, Elizabeth got a little bit older, she was diagnosed when she was 4. Having that important piece of information that she had been exposed to alcohol throughout the pregnancy was really helpful. And the earlier children are diagnosed, the better the outcome, because you can get therapies and things in place. She's had physical therapy, she's had occupational speech therapy pretty much since she was 5, right after the diagnosis. So that's really important. It's also important that women know that if they could be pregnant, to watch it. I had one gal tell me that, she went to a wedding and drank a little more than she, planned to, and a few days later realized she was pregnant. And, I had another friend tell me that, her doctor said, a glass of wine here and there is fine when you're pregnant. So even doctors aren't always up to date on information on this. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to raise that awareness for prevention.
Right, prevention.
So,
yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing.
Right, Patricia, that's what we were noticing when we were doing the research on this on the International Awareness Day, that there's no cure and prevention is key. And we had no idea. I mean, we are just thanking God that Sister Suzette and her organization is, working with this, with families, and having a support system in place. And, and this is amazing to have that kind of work being focused on these children and young adults that have dealt with this and are going to continue to deal with this the rest of their lives. But something we want to ask you, because we know Elizabeth, we love Elizabeth, your daughter, and she is precious to us. But tell us, Patricia, for everybody that's listening, because remember, we have a worldwide platform, okay, and people are listening all over the world, literally from England all the way, Africa, you name it. We have so many places that people are listening. What is it like on a day-to-day basis, working with Elizabeth, teaching Elizabeth, bringing her out and interacting in public, going to church? Tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, really, of how people react and what they say.
Well, first of all, I have to say the word that comes to mind first and foremost is exhausting. Yeah, I mean, it really, it's just exhausting, because nothing is easy. Nothing's easy for her, and therefore nothing is easy for me either. Sometimes it's the simplest things that I have to think ahead in how am I going to do this, or how am I going to say this, so that it doesn't become a big issue or more difficult. Sister talked about, the lack of cause and effect, the fact that they can tell you what the rules are, but they have a lot of difficulty in following through. So, she may know that if you do this, this is going to be your consequence. And she may be able to tell them, that that's what's going to happen if she does this. But she can't translate it to when the time comes, the impulsivity. She doesn't think before she does it. She just does it. And then after she does it and realizes, I've done this. Now this is the consequence. Now how do I get out of this? So, that's a big thing. One thing, it's sometimes called an invisible disability, because she looks perfectly normal. If you have a child who has Down syndrome or something like that, people lower their expectations immediately, because they know that this person is developmentally delayed or not cognitively her chronological age. Elizabeth looks perfectly normal. So a lot of people look at it as poor parenting, that she's a behavior problem. I've had her called all kinds of unfortunate names that she really doesn't deserve, because a lot of times she can't help her thing. One thing that these kids have a lot of times is called perseveration, and they get kind of caught in a compulsion loop. So, for example, one thing that I've experienced is in church, she tends to turn around, and a lot of times she'll turn around and she'll get locked into somebody and look at them. And I mean, I've even gotten anonymous notes saying, tell your daughter to quit staring at me or whatever, and I'm like, what are you giving your power to my daughter for? If she's turning around and she's looking at you, she's, number one, either trying to process something, maybe it's the look on your face or whatever, or, it could be any number of things that's going on in her brain. She's not trying to be rude. She's not trying to be mean. But, don't look back. Just pay attention to math. Sit somewhere else. Because if I try to stop her during math, there's going to be a distraction for everybody because she's going to react, and it's not going to be pretty. So the best thing to do is, and the thing is, in this particular, and I've got more than one letter from people in church about, behaviors throughout the years. Some were kinder than others. But, in this case, I was like, I wish you'd have signed your name, because I could have, told you what's going on with her and given you some suggestions on what you could do so that she doesn't look at you, like don't look back. So, that's one thing. Another thing is, a lot of times these kids, like I said, they can tell you the information, but they don't really understand. And an analogy that might be helpful is when you think of Alexa, the little cylinder thing that, you say, Alexa, what's the capital of Ohio? And Alexa says, Columbus. Kids with FASD are a little bit like that, in that they can give you the information, but they really don't have an understanding. Alexa can tell you what the capital of Ohio is, but Alexa does not understand what a state is, what a capital is, what's the difference between the capital of a state and capital letters. It's like she has the information, but she doesn't have the cognitive ability to understand it. And that's the way it is with a lot of these kids with FASD is, they'll say something and, they may seem like they understand what you're saying, but they don't. They really don't get, And the other thing is, on some days they can get it better than others. So, I've had situations where she does something, say, for example, at church, at Mass, where she does a really good day and she participates and she's, and then people are like, see, she can do it. She just acts the other time. She can do it. And it's like, no, not really. She had a good day today, and tomorrow could be totally different. The same way with schoolwork. She may get something and do really well one day, and the next day, we're going over the same material and she's got no clue what I'm talking about. So it's really hard. And, I remember she was diagnosed through Double Arc, which is the organization ministry that Sister Suzette works through. And Sister Suzette was so supportive when, we were preparing for her evaluation and everything. And when Elizabeth was evaluated, there were probably, 7 to 9 specialists, physicians and neuropsychologists and, all the different therapies and all that. And it's quite a comprehensive process that they go through. And she was diagnosed with the static encephalopathy, permanent brain damage. And, I went into the evaluation pretty certain that this is what it was based on the research I'd done and from talking to Sister Suzette. But I got to tell you, when it was in black and white in front of me and they told me what she had, and that it was permanent, and this is forever, it's really hard because I realized that, she's going to live with this the rest of her life. And, so many people, they blame me or they blame, my lack of discipline, so they think. This child is probably disciplined more than most, but it's really hard to realize that your child is going to, she can progress, she can gain skills, she can learn more, but she's never going to be probably independent. She's, this is something she's going to live with the rest of her life. And it's hard. It's hard for her. She's a teenager now. She wants more independence and that, but I have to keep her safe. I can't let her just go outside and play, like a regular 13-year-old would be able to do.
Sure.
You know, she doesn't know enough not to run across the street and forget to look for a car before she runs across the street. You know? So
we are visiting with
it's hard.
Yeah, Patricia in Tiffin, Ohio is with us for a couple more minutes, and then Loretta in Columbus, Jerry in Cleveland. Boy, it's an Ohio day today here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Please hang on. We want to get to each one of you. But Patricia, real briefly before we let you go, and Elizabeth, as Debbie mentioned, Debbie and I know Elizabeth. We've met the two. We know you, and we've met Elizabeth. And one thing that has really struck me is, you know, despite all of the things that you and Sister Suzette have described about their cognitive abilities and disabilities and so forth, it just seems like there is a capacity to love. And I know that Elizabeth, I cry when I talk to her, and she sends me little notes and draws me things and says, Jerry, I love you. And I say, I love you back. Talk about that just for a minute, the difficulties that she and so many of these other unfortunate situations are going through can't really totally quell that love that is within them.
You know, you talked earlier a little bit about blessings, and she is my biggest challenge, but she's also my biggest blessing. You know, she does. She has the capacity to love, and you know, she just. I'm so grateful to you and Debbie because you've been so kind to her and so understanding, and she just lights up. You know, like as soon as she realized I was on the phone with Debbie recently, you know, she's like, Debbie, I love you, I miss you, you know, and I'm so blessed because she is. And you know, I realized one time, well, we were in Kroger and she did really good that day, and the lady at the end would give her a sticker, you know, when she was good, and she asked me, I'm like, oh, she did, you know, excellent today. And so she gave her like 3 stickers. And this is like only a year or 2 ago. And Elizabeth was so excited because she got these 3 I Went Krogering stickers, you know, and she had this plastic cell phone. And she was like so excited about this plastic cell phone. And I remember walking out thinking, you know what? I am so blessed. I mean, how many moms to have 12-year-old children, 12-year-old daughters that are excited about a plastic cell phone that doesn't even, you know.
This is true.
And so I have to remind myself sometimes, you know, that I'm just so blessed because she does. Unfortunately, in social situations, it can be a struggle because, you know, she wants to tell all her friends, you know, just, I love you so much, and she wants to hold their hands all the time, and she wants to give them hugs all the time, and she's just overflowing with this love. And unfortunately, at her age, it's not socially
the boundaries
all the time.
Well, and Patricia, you're so right. And we feel so privileged to be able to do this show today on the International Awareness Day for FASD. And I just want to say, you know, Sister Suzette said that she really just wants to recognize all of the parents because you guys are really these current day saints, and you are. And I just wanted to say, I hope that it helps others to realize all the aspects of this, of raising a child with this disorder. But here's the thing: we can do something. We can pray. We can pray, Patricia, that you and all the other parents have a lot more energy, a lot more the stamina, you know, you keep going, you know, focus everything. We're going to pray for that so that you can continue to be such a great mom for Elizabeth. And you know what? We just thank you so very much. We love your friendship. We feel like you're a sister, and we just absolutely love Elizabeth. And this was an important topic today, and I hope we covered it, or we are going to continue to cover with Loretta and Jerry and the others calling in just a comprehensive way, so people walk away a little bit changed, a better understanding, so that if you go to Mass the next time, somebody may say, you know what, I need to pull back a little and be more compassionate. So thank you, Patricia. Thank you for making us aware of this and allowing, you know, us to do this in such a great way for the Take Two family.
Mm-hmm. Give a big hug and give Elizabeth our love, and we send that to you as well, Patricia. Thank you so much. We've got a couple of folks here who have been holding since near the start of the program. So, Jerry, hang on. You're right after Loretta in Columbus, Ohio. Loretta, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope it was worth your while.
Yes, hi. My name is Loretta Barber, and again, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I adopted my son 32 years ago, and at that time I had no clue of what fetal alcohol syndrome disorder was. That term was never mentioned to me, although I did know, I saw in my adoption paperwork alcoholism. The adoption agency did share with me that the mother used cocaine and marijuana, and drank while she was pregnant. This was actually her second pregnancy. But other than telling me that she used substances, there was no other conversation around what those substances could do. So I was totally ignorant to what, I don't even know if that term was used in the 80s. They changed terms often. So I was unprepared. I didn't know what to do. And when my son, I adopted him when he was 8 weeks old, he never was able to be comforted. It took every ounce of energy in my body to parent my son, and at times to even love him. If I have to, and I have to be honest, it was the most difficult time of my life. And I hear the things that the other mother was talking about. I used to think my son was like a wind-up toy, one of those little toys you wind up on the side and you let it go, and then it hits the wall, and it bounces back, but it just keeps hitting the wall. It never turns and goes a different direction. And that's how I used to think my son was. He never got the lessons. He never got it. He could know something today, and tomorrow you could ask him how much is 2 plus 2, and he'd say orange. And again, because my son looks totally normal, I too often expected him to act normal. And because I didn't know about mental health conditions, even though I lived with mental health conditions myself, major depressive disorder, PTSD, anxiety, I wasn't even receiving help for my own mental health. And I'm also the child of 2 alcoholic parents. I don't believe my mother used alcohol until after my birth, and then things kind of blew up with her and my father. But the parenting aspect was the most difficult and horrifying experience I ever went through, because there was no help, there was no roadmap. These terms weren't used, but what my son was diagnosed with was things like ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, all kinds of behavior disorders. He got his first felony when he was 11 years old. My son would steal everything and anything from anybody. It was so bad in our home that I had to put an alarm on his bedroom door so I could know when he came out of his room at night, because I couldn't sleep. He would get up in the middle of the night and roam the house, and he would get into things and steal things. And sometimes it would be food, and he would get something to eat, that's fine, but then he would never put it back in the refrigerator. He would hide it places. And you would never know until you start smelling these smells, and then you'd have to crawl around on your hands and knees trying to figure out where the smells are coming from. He would steal from anybody and everybody, and I can't tell you how many times I've even had the school call and tell me, your son just tried to to buy a pencil from somebody for $50. He'd steal from, family members, or back in the day when they used to have take your child to work day. He stole $300 from somebody on my job. He wasn't allowed back, at my job anymore. It was just always something. And I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. And again, being brutally honest, it got to the point where, I loved my son, but life was so difficult, I honestly began to hate him. I loved him and I hated him at the same time. And I had him in so many programs. He was on Medicaid. They wouldn't even let him back, didn't even want him back in daycare unless he was medicated. I mean, it went on from, the time he was smaller, fast forwarding to a teenager, I guess there was always those detachment issues. As a teenager, my son would meet friends, and once he met a new friend, then, he would just completely forget about family until the friend would kick him to the curb because, he's stealing from the friend, or he's mooching too much, off of his friends, or what he thinks is his friends, and then he come back to family, and then, meet somebody else, and, he's gone again. So
Loretta, if I may just jump, how old is your son now, if I may ask?
My son now is 32 years old.
32, okay. Does he
live
on his own?
In a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
We have no relationship. I sent him messages. He doesn't respond. I see his posts on Facebook, so I know that he is still alive.
Mm-hmm. Well, we want to try to get to Jerry in Cleveland, Loretta, but your story is so it breaks our hearts, and especially because you were going through, like you said, your own mental health issues yourself. And what we're going to do is we can promise you this is a global audience of the show, and we're going to ask all of the Take Two family to pray for you, for your son. We have a book that we keep of prayer intentions. We're going to put both of you in there, and we just assure you of those heartfelt prayers. And we pray, Loretta, I pray that you are doing better, that you are taking care of yourself, that you're still concerned about your son. Thanks be to God, he is apparently alive and well. And Debbie, we can pray for I guess a reconciliation might be the right word here for them to still have a relationship.
Absolutely, Loretta. And I just wanted to say I was retrieving text messages as you were speaking, and so many of the Take Two family are just sending you love and hugs. They said thank you for being so incredibly honest about what it's like to live through this. And so, yes, prayers. Please feel our prayers and stay in touch with us, okay?
And God bless everyone.
Thank you,
God bless
Loretta.
you, Loretta.
Thank you.
Over to Jerry real quick. Jerry, we've got about a minute and a half. We apologize. You get the Patience Award of the Year, Jerry, because you have waited a long time to get on the air there in Cleveland. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great, Jerry. The reason I called in, I knew a family that was loaded with alcoholism. The parents, all the children. So then, their one daughter, she got pregnant. Then, she had a couple kids. But the little boy, he was born with his syndrome. His eyes were spaced apart so that he looked like he had the little eyes like a mongoloid child would, but he did not have. He was, fetal alcohol. And he would do whatever. It's like the other people have said. And I saw it on TV once, and it was like, it just really, it says they get a thought, and it's just like programming a computer or a guided missile. They get a thought, and they must do it. And so this young guy, he was 8 or 10 years old. For some reason, they used to go up the street and climb on the school building that was single-story high.
Oh, boy.
And the one little...
Jerry, we're going to run out of time. We're so sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll address this again for sure. But tomorrow we're talking about recreational marijuana, so I'm sure we could probably talk more about it as well tomorrow. But Jerry, we're so sorry. You hear that music? That means this show has ended, Jerry. But I think we've learned a lot.
Yeah, and Jerry in Cleveland, I'd love to hear some more details of that, and you can send us those at take2@ewtn.com. What an amazing show. Blessed be God. Let's keep in prayer all of those impacted by FASD. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day.